Liverpool's chance for the first double of the season, but at the Emirates, Arsenal expect to have more to shout about.
Running out of superlatives, magnificent Manchester City seeking to further extend their winning run. Bournemouth, the visitors.
Paul Clemens paid the price for Swansea's poor form, a club who's seen how a change worked a treat for opponents Crystal Palace.
Two of the big guns before August is out, the sort of big game that it would be very uncomfortable to be on the wrong end of. Liverpool have fizzed out of the blocks here today. Mane! Oh, wow! Bellerin was last man. Salah has half the field to himself. Salah will score! Goals wherever you look for against Arsenal. Liverpool have been on a different plane. Torment for Arsenal.
We weren't passing as we should do, giving away ball.
Pretty devastated. You know what the saddest thing is? We're laughing at the moment at the state of that football club.
August and a balmy day in late summer brought a blow. Arsenal beaten 4-0 at Anfield. Sections of the support have long been dissatisfied, and though the Gunners rallied from that humbling, winter sees them in far from wondrous form. They sit fifth, a point behind Liverpool. Top four is a must, but there's pride as well as the points to consider, and Arsene Wenger would love to make amends for that miserable day on Merseyside.
It's difficult to swallow because on the day it was a bad performance, and we had no defensive stability, and we had a bad start in that game, and we were caught cold. We have a good opportunity to show that we are a different team. We cannot make a top career without any disappointment, and it's how you deal with it, how much you respond when you have a big disappointment that makes your life.
Arsenal, in terms of the balance of the teams, still seem a little bit out. Are they playing 4-4-2 now? Are they sticking with the 3-5-2? I don't think Arsene Wenger seems entirely sure, but certainly since that day at Anfield, they've rebuilt in a positive way. And if you hear the likes of Petr Cech talking about possible revenge and how wounded they were by that 4-0 defeat, then it should be a really interesting game on Friday night.
May you live in interesting times. It's an old Chinese curse. Too much is interesting at Arsenal. Mesut Ozil's stunning match winner against Newcastle came with the caveat of the continued uncertainty over his future. Another curiosity, Jack Wilshere has emerged as an unlikely positive. The midfielder, though he didn't feature in the much-changed 11 that beat West Ham in the EFL Cup in midweek, has now started 2 successive league games and is starting to show glimpses of his former glory.
Picked up a lot of injuries over my years, you know, and when I used to watch my game, you know, it seemed to be like every time when I picked the ball up, I wanted to run with it, I wanted to hurt the opposition, but now I can pick my time. Sometimes you can just pass and then move into a better position.
I think Wenger would see Jack Wilshere as a potential captaincy material, at least a very prominent leader in the squad. But he does have to prove his fitness, and this is the last chance saloon. But with him in the side, I think Arsenal look a better proposition.
Much has been made, understandably, of Liverpool's attacking threat, 38 goals already. But it's not purely a matter of free-scoring abandon. The Reds have lost just twice this campaign. And remember all the criticisms of haphazard defending? Well, Jurgen Klopp's men have kept clean sheets in 5 of their last 9 matches, though a churlish analyst might consider the calibre of the opposition in that run. Arsenal are the only side from last year's top 6 that Liverpool have defeated this season.
We are a team who is very offensive orientated, but that doesn't mean that you have to give any space away. And so now we prepare for Arsenal, and we have to be defensively really, really strong in that game. Otherwise, we don't have a chance.
The Reds tend to have a chance against the Gunners. After all, Klopp's never lost to Wenger, winning the last 3 meetings. But Arsenal will be seeking to exercise some very painful memories.
I always have belief in myself. Mature, I'll say more focused. As a person, I think I'm really strong-minded. I think I can go on and always do better, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do this year, and not just trying to stop now, trying to get better to hopefully set targets for next season.
It's Sterling, and Manchester City have won it in the 7th minute of stoppage time.
And there it is for Sterling.
It's going to be another game flooded with goals by Manchester City, and Raheem Sterling has 2 of them.
Sterling! This has got the look of fantasy football. Raheem Sterling, Johnny on the spot. And if they are to lift the Premier League trophy high in May, that could be a pivotal moment.
The rise of Raheem Sterling is symbolic of Manchester City's progress under Pep Guardiola. A player who's taken his game to a new level and boasts a career-best 15 goals in all competitions. 2 of those were added last weekend as City dismantled Tottenham at the Etihad. Their 4-1 victory raising the question yet again, is anyone capable of stopping the runaway leaders? It's a side some feel Guardiola could make the best the Premier League's ever seen.
The most important thing, I think, within this team is probably the belief in the dressing room. The manager's set a plan. You know, for each game he sets his ideas. He gives us the blueprint, but everyone else then, you know, you can see everyone buying into it. Everyone is on board. There's not one player that doesn't know exactly what we've got to do on the pitch. You know, there's a togetherness in the team. His standards are really high. I remember when he first came in and he said, I'm an intense sort of coach. I'm always, you know, trying to get the best out of his players, and his preparation is always the same. It's always, and he doesn't really take a step back. He's always, you know, front foot and trying to be aggressive.
You don't know. Even now in that position we are in the league, we don't know. Believe me, we don't know if we are able to win the Premier League. And but in that process, when you have a good moments, you have to celebrate it. We are in trouble in the central defenders because Kompany is injured, Stones is injured, Otamendi have played 99% of the games.
Before Bournemouth can even hope to test City's defence, they'll have to focus on their own, which had a wretched time against Liverpool last week. Eddie Howe admits his side's in a relegation battle, hovering just a point above the bottom 3 and without a league win in 6. Key injuries to Charlie Daniels, Joshua King and now Jermaine Defoe, following a narrow midweek cup loss to Chelsea, make the trip to the Etihad all the more challenging.
Well, it's been a really bizarre week for us because we went to Manchester United and it was very similar to tonight, where I thought we were excellent and I thought we deserved more from the game. We took the game to United and were very proactive in our approach. Liverpool was the total opposite. Despite the fact we're on a disappointing run, the players played with confidence, and that's not easy when you're not winning games regularly.
As a collected team, the next game is the most important one, and that's something massive to have. If you look too forward ahead, you can have that complacency. If we win all our games, we win the title, so it's ours to lose.
Sterling and the rest must remember just how difficult Bournemouth were to beat earlier in the season. Manchester City forced to fight back from behind for a success that launched their current 16-game winning run. The record in Europe's top 5 leagues is 19 in a row, set by Bayern Munich under Guardiola. At the Etihad, one thing's certain, Eddie Howe will have his hands full. As Manchester City look to build on their 11-point lead, United are under pressure from Chelsea, who could pull level. Behind them, 4 clubs are vying for 4th place. Newcastle are guaranteed to climb out of the bottom 3 if they win at West Ham, likewise West Brom at Stoke. 4 points from safety, managerless Swansea hope to stay in touch and stall Crystal Palace's climb.
Out of the shadows and into the sunlight. A few short weeks ago, Everton looked in real trouble, but just reflect on the turnaround under Sam Allardyce, man of the people. Under his management, the team have picked up 10 points from 4 matches, and they're up to 9th. The blue half of Merseyside has far more to smile about. Wayne Rooney seems to be enjoying his football again, scoring 10 goals in 16 Premier League appearances. Both he and his teammates, though, are well aware they face a real test against Chelsea this weekend.
They've got a lot of depth in the squad, and that's how they won the league last season, with a lot of depth and changes. And but we've got to be on the ball straight away with our preparation, before the game, going into the warm up, into the game. We've got to be nailed right on, ready for a good game and a good test for us.
Antonio Conte's men have been tested themselves this season, but look back at their last 10 games and you see 8 wins for the West Londoners. The Southampton match brought the 5th clean sheet in that run. The narrow margin of victory, though, suggests a slight concern, and Conte will be without top scorer Alvaro Morata. The striker picked up his 5th booking of the season in the League Cup win against Bournemouth. It's been the worst week of Claude Puel's short time in charge of Leicester City.
First, their 4-game winning streak hit the buffers with a crushing home defeat to Crystal Palace. And next, the Frenchman saw his side knocked out of the League Cup on penalties by Manchester City. A potentially draining start then to a hectic spell of fixtures which continues as Manchester United come to the King Power. United still have a hold on second place following last week's win over West Brom, but need another good result with Chelsea breathing down their necks. Adding to their motivation, the club's pride was hurt midweek. No happy faces on Wednesday, when the holders were also dumped out of the League Cup by Championship side Bristol City.
We've been quite strong in all the competitions over, especially last season as well, so it was very disappointing to fall so close to the final and here's a missed opportunity. We're all trying our best, we all want to win, we all want to prove ourselves, prove to the manager, prove to the fans just how good we are, and we've got such a tight-knit group that when it doesn't come together, it's disappointing for all of us, especially the players.
If it's goals you want for Christmas, don't go to Turf Moor. Just 7 scored and 3 conceded by Burnley at home all season. Mind you, if you're a Clarets fan, you're probably not bothered, as Sean Dyche's men are 6th, a point ahead of visitors Tottenham. Now, who'd have thought that back in August? Their impressive defence may be weakened by the absence of James Tarkowski. He picked up a 3-match ban for that elbow on Brighton's Glenn Murray. Chris Hughton not impressed. And Spurs fans aren't particularly impressed at the moment either. The 4-1 defeat at the Etihad left them 7th, 21 points behind City, and Mauricio Pochettino's men had been considered one of the more likely title contenders.
It's important for us to stay focused in yourself and to keep believing in yourself, because the season is still long. Obviously we have no chance anymore to play for the title, but the top 4 is still very important for the club and for the team.
The temporary move to Wembley certainly hasn't helped, but Tottenham's recent form on the road has really let them down. Spurs are winless in 5 away, and few do well at Turf Moor.
Someone else must keep the Swans afloat. Rock-bottom Swansea seek a fresh start against a Palace side flourishing under new management. That's still to come.
David Moyes has been announced as the new manager of West Ham.
What do you make of that? Is he the right man to take you forward?
No, he's not. West Ham, through history, have always played a certain type of football. David Moyes is not the sort of man that will come in and play the West Ham football.
I was so underwhelmed when David Moyes was appointed. I haven't seen a massive improvement in the squad since Moyes come in. I'm still as disappointed now as I was when they made the announcement.
I think they'll get behind the team. I think that's what West Ham supporters do. I wouldn't expect anything else, and actually I think the position we're in, they know how much we need them.
I want to win, and I want to make sure that for me, the supporters, everybody, that we enjoy our Saturday nights because we're winning games.
Arnautovic scores! Boy, this place needed that! Magic for Moyes! He's got him onside now!
West Ham, they're getting better and better. They've improved under David Moyes.
West Ham stock continues to rise. It's onwards and upwards for West Ham under David Moyes.
It must be very pleasing to overturn expectations. David Moyes is proving that first impressions can be misleading. What a shallow glamour or showy charisma without results to back them up. Since Moyes' arrival, West Ham have unquestionably improved. It took a few weeks, but the Hammers are out of the relegation zone. And the last 3 matches offer solid evidence. 4 goals scored and a hat-trick of clean sheets.
Well, I think there's a lot of things we're doing right. I want to do much better. Where my vision is to where I would like it to go is somewhere else. But at the moment, the small job at the moment, winning the games, being hard to beat, and picking up points, it can be the only thing we can do.
Moyes has also managed to light a spark under Marko Arnautovic, who is beginning to look like a £25 million dud under Slaven Bilic. Against Stoke, Arnautovic tormented his former employers and scored his 2nd goal in his last 3 games. With Manuel Lanzini facing a spell on the sidelines through suspension, West Ham will again be looking to Arnautovic for inspiration.
He's been brilliant. We're sort of seeing the player that everyone knows is in there, but I think it was just a lack of confidence that I think everyone was feeling at the time, and luckily the last couple of games he's come into his own. Hopefully it can carry on, you know, maybe, you know, he's come to a new club, it might have took a bit of time to settle down, but, you know, I think we're seeing what the player we signed.
No such uplift for opponents Newcastle United. Rafa Benitez's men have dropped into the bottom three. Their 8th loss in 9 matches came at the Emirates. West Ham's situation shows what a new boss can do, though there's no sign of Benitez being under pressure, particularly with the possibility of a takeover. He cites the lack of summer spending as a cause, but his players know they need to step up too.
As a professional, you always want to win, but you know, we put in a lot of effort into the games, and to not get points at the end of it is disappointing, but that's the reality of football. It can't last forever. There's going to be a point where it turns, and as long as we keep working hard, which is the main thing, and we keep having that belief that it will change, it will.
When these two met in August, Newcastle scored their first goals of the season in a 3-0 victory. Now the two teams are narrowly separated at the wrong end of the table. Benitez needs to end the Toons' dismal run, while the Hammers will be hoping their ascent continues as Moyes shows that reputations are there for the remaking.
Southampton have spent the season comfortable in mid-table, but after 1 win in 9, they're now just 3 points above the relegation zone. To make matters worse, the January transfer window is fast approaching, and Virgil van Dijk is back in the spotlight. The sought-after defender was left out at Chelsea, fueling speculation his days on the south coast are numbered. Saints have their lowest points tally at this stage for 5 years, and a man who's been on board throughout says the warning signs must not be ignored.
I understand where we are now, and it's really, really dangerous and difficult position right now. We are a good squad, very friendly guys, but we have to be more serious, and in the game we don't need to be friends. We have to fight for the club, fight for each other.
A tricky time then to face a Huddersfield team brimming with confidence, fresh from their first away win since the opening day. Defender Zankers summed up the club's spirit, pledging to buy a drink for every Town fan who makes the 470-mile round trip this weekend. Whatever happens at St Mary's, it's been a positive first half of the season for Huddersfield, who many expected to struggle. A win could put them into the top 10 for Christmas.
Frustration is reaching boiling point in the Potteries. Stoke City have won only once in 8 games, and after their most recent loss, Mark Hughes described fan anger as understandable. Chairman Peter Coates declared transfer funds available for January, but for how much longer will the board believe that Hughes can turn things around?
I know this group better than anybody. I've been here 4.5 seasons. The owners and everybody connected with the club are fully informed, and they come to the games themselves. They're here every week, so they sense if there's a change in attitude from the players or myself or whatever. So they're close to the coalface. They would sense if something needs a change. It doesn't.
When it comes to sacking a manager, West Brom may be a cautionary tale. Alan Pardew has had 4 games and picked up only 2 points. The Baggies now in the bottom 3. They did show some fight against Manchester United. Making his first Premier League start, winger Oliver Burke looked promising, but Pardew needs points to go with performances.
We've only scored 13 goals and we're almost halfway. That is just not good enough to stay in the division. So something has to change. You know, you try and put a personality into a team, and it needs to be backed up by results, really. So, you know, really, next win's very, very important for us. I think we'd just take any how it comes.
Brighton and Hove Albion's season could still go either way. 18 points from 18 games is a healthy return for a club that's held its own since promotion. But Chris Hughton knows the Seagulls would be soaring if they'd been more ruthless at key moments this season. That's particularly true on their own turf, where they've drawn 5 times already. Letting Burnley off the hook last week means Albion now sit just 3 points above the relegation zone. So they can't afford to be as wasteful again this weekend at home to Watford. Marco Silva's team have hit a sticky patch, taking just 1 point from a possible 15. And their problems are mounting, with Marvin Zegala, Abdoulaye Doucouré and Troy Deeney all suspended for the trip to the Amex Stadium. Deeney begins a 4-game ban for his red card against Huddersfield following an unsuccessful appeal.
Each Each new dawn brings hope, and they need it in South Wales. Swansea City have sacked Paul Clement. He's the third consecutive manager who's failed to complete a full year at the Liberty. It's been tough, stars sold and new signings not delivering, but bottom with just 3 wins and the decision made. He'd started so well. Last December, the Swans seemed certain to go down. Clement kept them up.
They took 29 points from the second half of last season, which is the most they've ever recorded in a half season since they were promoted. So that's not a run of form that Swansea are accustomed to having in the Premier League. So to be placing faith on saying, right, well, we'll just go and do what we did last season again, I think you're probably not exactly dealing in reality there.
There it is! No great celebration, but he's hurt his old club.
It's managing those periods where they've really struggled. They've been OK in parts, but it's just been able to handle those difficult spells where they've really let themselves down at times this year. A lot of the sides around them have already changed their manager, so there are consequences for managers at this level when things are going as poorly as they are.
In terms of a new manager, it's difficult. There's what do we need at the football club? We just need to get back to basics. We need to get that confidence back in the immediate future, and we need to make sure that, as soon as possible we get some points on the board. We don't want to be cut adrift. Really playing catch-up where it's going to be too difficult.
Leon Britton, a popular player, will take charge this weekend. He knows the club's past struggles and its present concerns. Crucially, the lack of goals. The Swans have scored just 10 times in their 18 league games. The strikers not on song and suffering too from a lack of service.
Swansea are the lowest scorers in the top 4 divisions of English football. So it's a damning indictment of their play while in possession. So, no Sigurdsson and Llorente. They desperately need some creativity, a bit of craft, a bit of inspiration on the ball, which they've lacked. There's no doubt Swansea have got some big work to do in January, and it's going to be pivotal in this survival fight for them.
For me, it's obviously frustrating as a striker not to get in chances and not to be scoring as well. But for me, I've been in the same situation last season as well, where the goals kind of dried up, but I had to stay patient. I had to stay focused, really, because if you don't think the goals are going to come, when they do come, you don't take your chances, really. So you do different aspects of the game, try to help the team as much as you can, and hopefully the chance will start coming again.
If Swansea can bring in someone to match the impact made by Roy Hodgson at Crystal Palace, they'll be thankful. When he arrived, the Eagles were bottom with 0 points. Under the former England manager, they've picked up 17 in 14 games. They're 7 unbeaten, winning their last 2 matches. But life in the Premier League is seldom straightforward.
It's taken their best ever unbeaten run in the Premier League, in the reformed Premier League, to get them up to what looks like safety in 14th, but actually is precariously close to the bottom 3 still. That run of games is horrific after the Swansea match. What had happened under De Boer had confused everybody, and the players didn't know whether they were coming or going. Hodgson, with his vast experience in the game, he literally just looked at them, stripped them back down, made them do basic defensive drills, and just to get everybody involved and singing from the same hymn sheet, which for too long they hadn't been.
I think the last games have exceeded our expectations, or exceeded our realistic thoughts as to what might be possible. But expectations is a dangerous word, because we think there are some good quality players in the squad and we expect big things from them.
Townsend, Benteke! The drought's over. The manager, Roy Hodgson, gets what he was calling for.
How typically Crystal Palace and how typically Christian Benteke that he then goes and gets booked, misses the Swansea City game as a result. He is their only fit available striker. I would imagine the only change that Palace make at the weekend would be Zaha playing up front. When you're in a relegation battle, you need a talisman, and you can see the effect that he has both on the locals, his teammates, most importantly of all on the opposition.
The opposition, though, may well respond to this week's events. The Swansea players will feel some responsibility for Clement's demise, and they won't want to bear the burden, too, of deepening the club's crisis.
A mouth-watering start to the festive feast. Arsenal and Liverpool provide Friday night entertainment. Everton-Chelsea kicks off Saturday's action. Later, leaders Man City host Bournemouth, managerless Swansea play Crystal Palace, and Burnley battle to keep their top 6 spot against Spurs. Leicester and Manchester United's late match brings us to the halfway point of the season. The action resumes on the 26th with Tottenham at home to Southampton. There are several important fixtures for teams in the bottom half before the Swans try to spring a huge surprise at Anfield. On Wednesday, Newcastle attempt to slow Man City's momentum, and Thursday takes Arsenal to resurgent Palace.
Midwinter is far from bleak for football fans. Across 12 days of Christmas, there are 40 matches, a gift that keeps on giving. Seasonal entertainment with the crucial matter of points at stake. The faithful come to follow their stars, joyful they hope, and triumphant. No league in the world does Christmas like the Premier League. From Dave Beckett, me, Izzy Clark and the rest of the team, goodbye.